please welcome our second case studies. David Golding, Materials Manager at Sudbury Silk Mills, along with Emma Collins, Account Manager at David Walters Fabrics. You ready? The stage is all yours.
Well, thank you. So, as a 305-year-old company in the textiles industry, Sudbury Silk Mills has been constantly adapting and evolving to become the company that we are now. And that is one that is known for combining traditional craftsmanship and design with state-of-the-art technology and modern approaches. But how do we continue to adapt and innovate in a world that is constantly building pressure with higher workloads and more expectation on businesses for what should be required, such as new legislation and new things that we need to be considering? How do we find the time to do everything in an efficient and reliable way? Well, today we want to present our approach to this with a technological innovation, one that has supported us with overcoming these challenges and that has also strengthened the future of our business, and that is robotics process automation. So what is robotics process automation, or RPA? It automates repetitive rule-based tasks by creating software that mimics human activity in digital systems. So this could be things like data entry, order processing, or stock management. And the best way to think of this is like having a tiny little robot that lives inside your computer and works with all the software. And it should be seen as a tool that supports us, because what it can do is it can essentially take all of the boring aspects of our role, all the computer-based bits, and it can take them and handle them and give us back our time to be able to work on things that have a real business impact and utilize all the skills within our teams. So it's also important at this point to make a distinction with AI. So unlike AI, robots can't necessarily think for themselves, but instead they follow programmed instructions which we can make as simple or as complex as we like. So to help demonstrate this, we have got an example of RPA within the business. And this example was one we introduced quite early on into our admin department. And they would be constantly asked several times a day by multiple account managers for live information on our current shipments. So as you can imagine, this would be incredibly time disruptive, and it could also interrupt other important work from happening throughout the day. But by integrating RPA into this process, we were able to take a disruptive and time-draining task and allow and take away any involvement that is needed and active input from the admin team, and give them the time back to work on things throughout the day. So here we can see our bot in action. And what is it doing is it's operating its own PC and it's logging into the FedEx platform. It is then navigating itself to the View All Shipments page, and it can download all of that information in one go in whatever format we want to do. It can then take that downloaded information and it can populate a data table, and in our case that's an online SQL server. And it can use that information to create reports on all of our current shipments. So by doing this and integrating RPA, we've been able to remove any active input and involvement from the admin team, keeping their time free for other requirements throughout the day. But because this is being done repetitively and automatically throughout the day, the sales team will still get the reports they need whenever they need it for whatever they require. Now, we might be able to think of hundreds of ideas as to where this could be of great benefit in the business. So we need to decide which ones we want to go ahead with. So firstly, for any process that we think has some promise, we'll need to go through a validation process. And what we're doing here is we're looking at the current procedure and seeing how it could be made more simple. And by doing this, we're already starting to improve our processes because we're trying to make them more efficient, and which will further help us with integrating RPA further down the line. We also want to make sure that the time spent in coding our software is going to be brought back to us in time saved. So we need to make sure that we're doing the right things. Secondly, we want to look at the source data that the robot will be using and what it will be using to perform the tasks we want it to do. And we need to make sure that it is located somewhere consistently and accurately. Now, this might be information from an existing spreadsheet, a submit form that we create, or an internal system. But it could also be an external source, such as a website, and it all just depends on what we are asking the robot to do for us. But once we've got that source data down and we've confirmed where it's going to be, and we've made the process as simple as possible, we can then go about creating the code for a robot to follow. We can then trial this in situ, and we can make necessary improvements. But once we have completed this, we've essentially taken what was a time-draining and repetitive task, and we've turned it into something that is quick to perform and automated.
So, how do we make this happen? It's all well and good knowing this technology exists, but a critical part is how we integrated it into the business in the first instance and generated the ideas. So we started by creating an RPA working group, which brought together IT who understood the software alongside employees who had a real keen interest for this technology. Teams then formed with an IT member who knew how to code, alongside individuals from departments who were passionate about their ideas for automation. And as David said, we naturally began with our admin department, who had a really clear view of those repetitive tasks that could benefit from this technology. And once a few successful examples were put in place, we introduced RPA to other departments so that we could continue collaborating and interacting throughout the business in this way. So what made this project delivery tool work was that it ensured genuine value and it encouraged innovation from the ground up. The RPA working group also transitioned into becoming more of a support function rather than the driver, which helped to transition our mindset into embedding RPA into our thought process when approaching new projects. This mechanism is essentially the backbone to how we deliver sustainable improvements and integrate innovation into the business. So this approach has led to many improvements impacting all departments, as you can see listed here. So this is broadly benefiting us by enhancing customer experience, improving quality of information, and boosting productivity. So the essence of these tasks are they're tedious and repetitive, so I'm not going to bore you by reading them all out. However, I would like to share one more example with you around our Sudbury invoicing and credits process automation. So this process used to be really manual, time-consuming, and error-prone. Now RPA is helping us by validating our input, sharing status onto a platform, and creating invoices or credit notes at the push of a button. So this is positively impacting our sales, admin, finance, and shipping teams who are all involved in this process. It is worth knowing that RPA doesn't mind working at 2 a.m. in the morning, so information can be ready for the next working day. So now we have the buy-in from the company on the effectiveness of RPA. Our IT team have certainly increased with popularity with automation requests because the benefits are widely acknowledged. For example, our finance team, who are responsible for our sustainability reporting, they're now collaborating closely with IT. They're asking smart questions like, how can we automate data collection to support our Scope 3 carbon footprint calculation? Or how can we refresh charts and graphs automatically with scheduled data? With sustainability reporting demands increasing, I'm sure like many of you, we're looking at the most efficient way we can support this as a business. And by us utilising RPA to help with things like data collection, we're essentially giving back the resource to our finance team so they can best use their skills to focus on analysing the data and using critical thinking. So these are the kinds of conversations that will continue to make our projects more innovative, impactful, and exciting. Personally, I can't wait to see how this capability continues to develop to help support our sustainability goals. So, to summarise, what are the benefits of this approach and use of RPA? So we have cross-departmental collaboration. Teams are working together to make improvements and sharing success stories with each other to inspire others. Improvement mindset. So working through RPA projects has helped to shift our culture towards continuous improvement. Time saving. So far we've saved around 50 hours a week, which is essentially like gaining at least one extra full-time person. Improved data quality. So RPA reduces human error by doing tasks consistently and accurately. We have an enhanced service, so faster and more reliable processes help us to respond better to our customers as well as suppliers. Improved employee morale. So automating repetitive work gives people the time and the opportunity to focus on aspects within their role which they enjoy and maximises their skills, which equally benefits the business. I'm sure you can now understand the value RPA brings to our business and the approach we've taken to drive innovation across the company. So to conclude this presentation, we look ahead and ask ourselves, how can technology continue to support our business in the future? So as a textile manufacturer that's seen the immense benefits of integrating technological innovation in how we work, we would highly recommend this technology. We are aware that RPA is just one part of the puzzle when it comes to technological innovation, and with AI and other technologies rapidly advancing, we wonder, how could RPA and our approach to integrating it into the business help us to work with other technologies, and what could be possible in the future? So the key for us is to embrace change that's relevant to our business, continue to innovate, and keep challenging ourselves by asking, how could we do this differently? Thank you.